If we think that is unusual, let's turn to book 10. I know you haven't gotten there yet. And with this, I think I will stop. I want to just draw you through some of the sequence here. Chapter 6. He wants to talk about his love of God. What do I love when I love my God? Not material beauty or beauty of a temporal order, not the brilliance of earthly light, not the sweet melody of harmony and song, not the fragrance of flowers, not manna or honey, not limbs such as the body delights to embrace. It is not these that I love when I love my God. Yet when I love him, it is true that I love a light of a certain kind, a voice, a perfume, a food, an embrace, but they are of the kind that I love in my inner self. It's not in the outer world that we find God. It is inside us. It is in the inner self that we can discover God again. Next page, 212. But what is my God? Now notice the sequence that I'll read to you. I put my question to the earth. It answered, I am not God, and all things on earth declare the same. I asked the sea, and the chasms of the deep, and the living things that creep in them. But they answered, we're not your God. Seek what is above us. I spoke to the winds that blow, and the whole air, and all that lives in it replied, Anaximenes is wrong. I am not God. I asked the sky, the sun, the moon, and the stars, but they told me, neither are we the God whom you seek. I spoke to all the things that are about me, all that can be admitted by the door of the senses. And I said, since you are not my God, tell me about him. Tell me something of my God. God is he who made us. I asked these questions simply by gazing at these things, and their beauty was all the answer they gave. Notice the sequence. Earth, sea, air, sky. He begins his journey. He begins his quest for God at the lowest level, the furthest removed from God. He begins in the material world of earth. And he rises through the 4 layers of these 4 elements. And each in turn says, look to what's above us. So I look to the sky. Look what's above us. I look to the sun. And they said, it's not us, but their beauty pointed to something else. Their beauty pointed to the one who made them. So where does Augustine go? Then I turned to myself and asked, who are you? Augustine leaves the external world and turns into himself to find God. God is not found in the world. The world points to God, but you will find God inside your own soul. Who are you? A man, I replied. But it is clear that I have both body and soul, the one, the outer, the other, the inner part of me. Which of the two ought I to have asked to help me find my God? With my bodily powers, I tried to find him in earth and sky, as far as the sight of my eyes could reach, like an envoy sent on a search. But my inner self is the better of the two. It's higher. It's better. It's more like God. Soul is more like God than body. It's closer to God. And so he climbs up from the material and enters into his soul, thinking, I'll find something more like God there. They delivered, but my inner self is the better of the two to them. But they delivered to their arbiter and judge the replies which they carried back from the sky and the earth and all that they contained. Those replies were said, we are not God, and God is he who made us. The inner part of man knows these things through the agency of the outer part. We know these things through our sense perception. I, the inner man, know these things. I, the soul, know them through the senses of my body. I asked the whole mass of the universe about my God, and it replied, I am not God. God is he who made me. Surely everyone whose senses are not impaired is aware of the universe around him. Why then does it not give the same message to us all? To the animals, both great and small, are aware of it, but they cannot inquire into its meaning because they are guided not guided by reason, which can sift the evidence relayed to them by their senses. Man, on the other hand, can question nature. Why? Because we are rational. Animals have sense perception, but that is not enough. We can go higher because we have reason. We are more like God than them. And he says, what then do I love when I love my God? Chapter 7. Who is this being who is so far above my soul? If I am to reach him, it must be through my soul. But I must go beyond the power by which I am joined to my body, and by which I fill its frame with life. I have to go beyond the nutritive part of my soul. This is not the power by which I can find my God, for if it were, the horse and the mule, senseless creatures like trees, could find him too, because they also have the same power which gives life to their bodies. But there's another faculty in me besides this. But it is not only by it I not only give life to my body, but also give it to power to the perceiving of things by the senses. God gave me this faculty, and to each of the other senses he assigned its own place and function. I, the soul, am the one who alone exercise all of those different functions by means of my senses. But I must go beyond this faculty as well, for horses and mules have it, since they too feel by means of their bodies. So I must go to the natural faculty, the mind. Notice what he's doing here. He is saying that if we are to know God, if we are to be once again brought back into our proper place, we have to be lifted up from the material world. We have to return, separate ourselves from this world. We have to return to our souls, and it's only through the soul, through the mind, that we can grasp God, contemplate God again. We are lifted to that by love. And it is that journey, the journey of the prodigal son back to God, having moved away from God in our quest for pleasures in this world, we get dissatisfied in the pigsty, finally wake up and say, I've got to go back to my proper place. How do I do it? We do it by ascending through the created order again, contemplating ultimately that which created us, God, through our souls. And in so doing, we rightly order ourselves again. We return to our proper place. We find rest. And we find that in God. That is how you live a responsible life. What ought we to do? Abandon this world and look for God. Seek pleasure, truth, and beauty not in your friends, not in your family, not in the pride of life, but rather look to God. Love God, and it will draw you up again to where you can find rest. Okay, that's the basic structure of Augustine's world. A hierarchical world, a world in which we must return to God through the powers of our souls. Any questions? If you have any, just come on down afterwards. I'll be happy to hang around for a few minutes and talk to you.